Now, let's jump over to chapter 9 of Mark and pick up one more miracle. And in this miracle, you have a man who comes to Jesus, and he says in Mark 9, verse 17, one of the multitude answered and said, Master, I have brought unto thee my son, which hath a dumb spirit. And then he describes what this evil spirit has done with his child. And so Jesus in verse 23 said, If thou canst believe, all things are possible to him that believeth. It's pretty simple, easy formula. Verse 24, and straightway the father of the child cried out and said with tears, O Lord, I believe, help thou mine unbelief. Are you noticing what happens in our English King James Version text? You have the phrase, Lord, I believe, then a semicolon, then help thou mine unbelief, then a period. Keep in mind, there were no punctuation marks in any of our earliest Greek manuscripts. Those are all English editions, centuries after the New Testament was written. What we don't get in words is the speed of speech, the rate of speech, the tone of voice usually, the pauses, the dramatic periods of silence. We don't know, so we're left to wonder or even speculate. But at a symbolic level, if you can picture this being your story, my guess is that most of us don't go to the Lord with our need and say, Lord, I believe, help thou mine unbelief. My guess is that most of us go to the Lord with childlike faith to say, oh yes, Lord, I believe. And then it's as if there's this long period of silence, longer for some than for others, where Jesus looks at us with a quiet, knowing look, perhaps a raised eyebrow of, how much do you really believe? And then the moment of reckoning, the moment of truth, where we have to acknowledge the fact that, yeah, I'm not where I need to be yet in my faith. I love this story. It's one of my favorites in the New Testament because, if I'm honest with myself, it's my story. I'm this man, and symbolically, you're this man. And we come to the Lord with these intense needs and say, with firm faith, Lord, I believe. And then we have to really reconcile with the reality of, I don't believe as much as I should. I'm not where I need to be in my faith yet. But I know who can help me. I know who can get me where I need to be. And so I love this last 4 words, help thou mine unbelief. Now, there are other ways to read verse 24. There are other ways to interpret it. But I love looking from this aspect of bring what faith you have, offer it to the Lord, and then plead with him to strengthen those parts of your faith that are still lacking. And at this point, when Jesus saw that the people came running together, he rebuked the foul spirit, saying unto him, Thou dumb and deaf spirit, I charge thee, come out of him, and enter no more into him. And the spirit cried and rent him sore and came out of him, and he was as one dead, insomuch that many said, He is dead. But then what did Jesus do? He completed the miracle. Verse 27, he took him by the hand and lifted him up, and he arose. I love that Jesus didn't just cast out the devil and then leave him laying there as if he were dead. He finished it. He raised him up and gave him that new lease on life to move forward without being fettered by that evil spirit.